My name's Chris Schmidt. I'm going to kind of go over a couple of things that we've seen with Absolute. I personally have used it in two organizations here. And when we first introduced it many years ago, we had a single purpose, and we've just kind of since grown the utility of the tool into our other processes. So just real quick background on Greenville Health System. We are located in the upstate of South Carolina, and we are a non-for-profit organization. I came to this organization about 5 years ago, focusing around information security. And in the past 5 years, we've pretty much doubled in endpoints as we've added more hospitals. But in addition to the 7 hospitals, we have about 200 practices. And just recently, we've announced an affiliation merger of systems focused or located in Columbia, South Carolina, about an hour and a half away, that will, again, double the size of our organization. So just think of the asset nightmare we're going to have going on, as well as the overall security we've got to deal with. Traditional things we're worried about within healthcare and probably any other verticals, of course, we want to secure the devices, and we want to make sure they maintain security, not just at any given point, but every point in time. And in particular, we're obligated to protect the medical information, both within the infrastructure and as well as our providers who may use them in the hospital facilities or off-site and remote facilities. So healthcare in the last number of years has been particularly targeted for that data. It's very valuable data for the underground. It's full identity data, but if we don't provide our care providers with that data, they of course can't treat patients. And again, healthcare is growing to an off-market or off-network environment where we're taking the visits to patients home again in some instances. We're traveling around through other organizations. We're introducing telemedicine, as well as our corporate users and our administrative users are traveling to present at conferences or present information to government entities, regulatory bodies, and unfortunately do lose those devices. One of the key measures for us is really protecting against those fines too. So we are regulated by the Office of Civil Rights, and failure to protect that information not only results in that reputational harm, but direct fines from the government. And in the last couple of years, we've seen those fines reach in the millions of dollars. And that's our duty to protect that money to stay in the organization. Otherwise, that's money that can't be used to treat patients. And then there's, of course, the other indirect costs, the lost assets and the reputational harm should those breaches occur. 5 years ago, when I came into this organization, some of the goals we were looking at were really assess the organization, our current state, and at that time we were in a lot of transition, both in leadership as well as technology and infrastructure. Our desktop designs were Windows XP, and we were transitioning and developing our Windows 7 posture with that. As we were developing those designs, compliance was important to us. Again, we go back to those fines and the things we want to be able to protect. But asset management, we had some weaker asset management processes at the time, and so really without understanding those assets, we really didn't fully understand our environment. So we needed to get some control over that. We needed to reach those off-network devices or get some information about them, location information, software configuration information, and whatnot, as well as the primary tool. The original reason we brought Absolute into our environment, it was really just kind of that securing of the device and ensure that encryption was available and that there was no data on there, and really protect ourselves from the loss of patient information, from a reportable loss of patient information. And again, we needed tools that help us assess the risk exposure, again, not just at a single point in time, but over the course of the asset life cycle, and add those layers of protections, make sure that those layers are working, and hopefully doing it with less than 12 agents on the device. So again, 5 years ago, we ended up kind of starting with our risk assessments, and we looked at our environment, we looked at our malware tools, we looked at the alerting, the reporting that we were getting, and our procedures to address those reportings. And with that, we identified some of our initial security gaps, and one of them was we didn't really have an investment in information security technology. So what we wanted to do is, one, introduce the technologies, but also improve the workflows for responding to those threats after they've been identified. We still struggled with our assets. At the time, we were transitioning over to, again, Windows XP, where it was kind of a wild, wild west. Everyone was an admin. Applications were installed by whomever, wherever, to a Windows 7 more controlled, hardened environment where we leverage SCCM. At that point, we developed a roadmap, and actually one of our first purchases for our organization was the Absolute technology. And what that allowed us to do and complement really the SCCM piece was get control of the assets, understand where our assets are, where they are on the network, are they in our facilities, and and whatnot, provide that level of safe harbor and that compliance. And we really relied on that persistence piece to start looking at some of the security risks of those devices that may be leaving the organization or may not have the security tools on there, such as our antivirus, anti-malware, or even the SCCM piece. So with that, we ended up rolling out Absolute organizational-wide, so every device got licensed and the software got installed. With that, then we were able to complement our SCCM tool to roll out our chosen antivirus tool and ensure that that tool stays on. And if that tool is not on or not functioning, we've generated those workflows to go ahead and trigger a field services call or to trigger an action to disconnect the device or whatever we felt was appropriate. We then were able to, as we start to really understand that tool better, we actually started looking at utilization data. So we were able to kind of better understand what devices are getting used. Can we take devices in and out of the network? Can we recoup licensing for other tools? Because most of our tools, whether they're IT security, their IT, their infrastructure support, are licensed by a number of endpoints. So that's a cost savings for us. That can be an indirect cost savings. So after the installation of Absolute through our enterprise to the about 16,000 devices, we were able to kind of, again, just measure our security posture, take a step of compliance, and be confident knowing that our under 6 agents that we are leveraging specifically for security are 1, functioning, 2, reporting correctly, but 3, also those devices are protected and encrypted. And we can generate an asset report to that and tie that to our CMDB as necessary. And in the event of theft, have that safe harbor report available for us in any OCR investigation. The other thing we're able to do is get control of the asset in general, physically. When we first introduced Absolute, we had a side contractor doing some IT support who was selling our devices on eBay. We were able to capture that and pull about 10 devices back instantly. We've had a number of employees or contractors come and go and they've forgotten to return their devices, forgotten, quote unquote, they've taken those devices or they've taken configuration of those devices that are inappropriate on installing the OS that we deliver, installing their own OS, installing their own application tools, and we've created those workflows too for that in response to that visibility. So we're able to significantly reduce the loss of actual physical hardware as well as protect the PHI that we're responsible for protecting. And then again, one of the latest projects we were able to do is take the utilization data, and we were able to start pulling back some areas, and we're still in the middle of this project, pull back areas that are low utilized areas and start hopefully recouping, 1, the power savings, 2, the licensing costs.